Today is March 22nd, 2026. Welcome back to No Michael channel. The AI world is absolutely packed with news. From your phone quietly doing tasks for you, to gig workers training AI, to the US military rolling out Palantir across its systems, and even a possible Amazon Transformer phone, there's a lot to unpack. Let's get into this week's AI Roundup. First up, the future of actually useful phone assistants might finally be here. This news comes from The Verge AI and was released on March 21st, 2026. The article is titled, Gemini Task Automation is Slow, Clunky, and Super Impressive. The Verge tested Google's new Gemini Task Automation on the Pixel 10 Pro and Galaxy S26 Ultra. For the first time, Gemini doesn't just answer questions or draft emails. It literally takes control of your apps and does things for you. Right now, it's limited to a small set of apps like food delivery and rideshare services. Think order my usual from DoorDash or book me a ride to work, and instead of giving you instructions, Gemini actually taps through the app on your behalf. The Verge says it's slow, sometimes awkward, and it doesn't really solve a painful problem yet. You can still place that order faster yourself. But what impressed them is that it's no longer just a demo in a keynote. This is a real shipping feature where the AI is driving your phone. It's a glimpse of phones where the OS becomes more like a personal agent that knows how to operate other apps. Keep that idea of AI doing work for you in mind, because our next story flips it around, you doing work for AI. This news comes from Wired's Artificial Intelligence section and was released on March 21st, 2026. The article is titled, I tried DoorDash's Tasks app and saw the bleak future of AI gig work. Wired reports on DoorDash's new Tasks app, where gig workers are paid to record themselves doing everyday activities, laundry, scrambling eggs, walking in the park, and so on. These videos are used to train AI systems, likely computer vision and robotics models that need to recognize human actions and environments. On paper, it's get paid to do simple tasks. In practice, Wire paints a pretty bleak picture: low pay, highly surveilled, repetitive microwork that exists purely to feed AI training pipelines. Instead of delivering food, some gig workers may end up delivering training data. So we have one system where AI is learning to operate apps for you, and another where people are being hired to act out daily life so AI can learn to perceive the world. The common thread: we're gradually outsourcing both digital and physical skills to AI. And that raises big questions about who benefits and who gets stuck doing the invisible labor. From personal life to national security, let's jump to something much bigger and more controversial. This news comes via a Hacker News AI topic linking to The Cradle and was shared on March 21st, 2026. The article is titled, US to embed Palantir AI across military. According to The Cradle's reporting, the US is planning to more deeply embed Palantir's AI technologies across its military infrastructure. Palantir has long provided data platforms and analytics tools to governments, but this move suggests a broader AI integration, likely for intelligence analysis, battlefield awareness, logistics, and decision support. The key concern here is what it means to have a private, highly secretive company's AI systems deeply wired into critical military operations. You get faster analysis, more integrated data, and potentially quicker decision-making, but you also centralize power in a proprietary system, raise questions about transparency, bias, and escalation risks, and increase dependence on one vendor. Keep that in mind when we talk about OpenAI in a second, because there's a pattern. AI companies are not just building chatbots. They're becoming infrastructure for governments, militaries, and entire industries. Next, let's talk about one of the biggest players in AI scaling up even more. This news comes from Engadget Tech News and was released on March 21st, 2026. The article is titled, OpenAI reportedly plans to double its workforce to 8,000 employees. Citing the Financial Times, Engadget reports that OpenAI wants to nearly double its staff from around 4,500 to 8,000 employees by the end of 2026. These hires will be spread across product development, engineering, research, sales, and a new category, technical ambassadorship. That technical ambassador role is essentially AI consultants who help businesses adopt OpenAI tools. It's a sign that the company doesn't just want to ship models. It wants to deeply embed itself inside corporate workflows and help enterprises rewire how they operate around AI. Why the push? According to data from RAMP, which Engadget cites, new enterprise buyers are now 70% more likely to choose Anthropic's Claude over OpenAI for their first AI deployment. So OpenAI is feeling competitive pressure and responding by scaling up aggressively, including in sales and support. Engadget also notes that OpenAI recently signed a contract with the US Department of Defense and is in advanced talks with big private equity players like Brookfield to roll out AI across entire portfolios of companies. So on one side, we have Palantir going deeper into the US military. On the other, OpenAI is rapidly staffing up to become the default AI layer for both governments and corporate America. Now, while OpenAI and others race to dominate the digital AI layer, Nvidia is looking ahead to robots and physical AI. This news comes from the South China Morning Post's China Tech section and was released on March 21st, 2026. The article is titled, Nvidia's Huang calls China formidable in robotics as company bets on physical AI. SCMP reports that Nvidia CEO Jensen Huang, in a podcast with Silicon Valley tech execs, said the US robotics industry will still have to rely on China's supply chain. He describes China as formidable in robotics, pointing to their strengths in microelectronics, motors, rare earths, and magnets, basically the building blocks of robots. Nvidia is betting heavily on physical AI, robots, and embodied systems that use AI to interact with the real world, not just screens. But Huang is effectively saying, even if the US leads in AI algorithms and platforms, the hardware and components for robots remain heavily tied to China. This creates a really interesting tension. On one side, the US is embedding AI into its military and enterprise infrastructure. On the other, even the leading US AI hardware company is openly acknowledging dependence on Chinese supply chains for the physical side of AI. So, the geopolitics of AI is about data, chips, and motors and magnets. Speaking of big tech hardware, let's go to Amazon and a surprising possible comeback. This news comes from Unwire HK, a Hong Kong tech outlet, and was released on March 21st, 2026. The article is about Amazon's rumored new smartphone, with the headline in Chinese roughly meaning Amazon may launch its own smartphone again, codenamed Transformer, focusing on AI and Alexa. According to Unwire HK, Amazon is reportedly working on a new smartphone codenamed Transformer, led by its 01 special team. This would be Amazon's first major phone effort since the Fire Phone flop more than a decade ago, which cost them about $170 million US. This time, the strategy is different. The phone is reportedly built around AI and the Alexa voice assistant. It may also try to bypass traditional app stores, pushing users directly into Amazon's own services. If that's true, imagine a phone where the main interface is an AI assistant and Amazon's ecosystem, not a grid of third-party apps. That ties back nicely to Google's Gemini automation story. Everyone is racing to turn the smartphone from an app launcher into an AI agent that orchestrates your life. From Amazon's rumored AI phone, let's shift to Microsoft and how it's rethinking AI inside Windows. This news also comes from Unwire HK and was released on March 21st, 2026. The article covers Microsoft's Windows 11 changes under the headline that translates roughly to Microsoft promises to improve Windows 11. Copilot will be less intrusive and taskbar positioning will return. Unwire HK reports on a blog post titled Our Commitment to Windows Quality by Pavan Davuluri, Microsoft's Executive Vice President for Windows and Devices. In that post, he outlines a series of reforms to Windows 11 key points. Microsoft will dial back some of the heavy-handed Copilot AI integration, give users more flexibility like moving the taskbar again, and focus on system stability. Early updates will roll out to Windows Insider program members starting this month. Davuluri was just promoted to EVP and now reports directly to CEO Satya Nadella, which observers see as a sign that Microsoft's leadership is taking long-standing Windows frustrations more seriously. So, while Amazon and Google are trying to push AI deeper into the core experience, Microsoft is doing a bit of a course correction, still betting on Copilot, but acknowledging they can't just force AI into every corner of the OS without listening to users. Next, let's talk about who's making money in this AI boom, because one company is profiting massively even without a top-tier model of its own. This news comes from Unwire HK and was released on March 21st, 2026. The article is titled, in translation, App Store earns nearly $900 million from AI apps. ChatGPT contributes over 70%. Citing analysis from AppMagic Unwire HK reports that Apple's App Store earned almost $900 million in commissions from generative AI apps in 2025. Over 70% of that came from just one app, OpenAI's ChatGPT. AppMagic expects Apple's AI-related App Store revenue to cross $1 billion this year. And here's the twist. Apple is making this money without yet having its own leading, widely available generative AI model in the market. It's essentially collecting tolls from the AI gold rush, acting as the platform where AI apps make money. So while OpenAI is scaling up its workforce, and Anthropic is winning new enterprise deals, Apple is quietly cashing in just by owning the store where people subscribe to these AI services. Now, let's zoom out to the AI model ecosystem itself and a new player that's worrying investors and incumbents. This news comes from a Hacker News AI topic linking to CNBC and was shared on March 21st, 2026. The CNBC article is titled, OpenClaw's ChatGPT moment sparks concern that AI models are becoming commodities. According to CNBC, a company called OpenClaw has had its own ChatGPT moment, likely a highly capable model or product launch that's gotten a lot of attention. The key takeaway isn't just another good model exists, but that investors and industry insiders are starting to worry. If many companies can build ChatGPT-level models, do these models become commodities? If foundation models are commoditized, meaning lots of them are roughly comparable and easily swapped, then the real competitive edge shifts to other layers: data, distribution, brand, integration, hardware, or specialized capabilities. Tie that back to earlier stories. OpenAI is hiring technical ambassadors to lock in enterprise relationships. Apple is monetizing distribution via the App Store. Palantir and Nvidia are embedding themselves in specific verticals like defense and robotics. And OpenClaw's rise suggests the era of just we have a big model being enough is coming to an end. That leads nicely into our last story, making AI not just powerful, but trustworthy and self-aware about its own limits. This news comes from MarkTech Post AI News and was released on March 21st, 2026. The article is titled A Coding Implementation to Build an Uncertainty-Aware LLM System with Confidence Estimation, Self-Evaluation, and Automatic Web Research. MarkTech Post walks through a tutorial for building a large language model system that knows when it might be wrong. The system has a 3-stage reasoning pipeline. First, the model generates an answer, along with a self-reported confidence score and a justification for why it thinks that answer is right. Second, there's a self-evaluation step, where the model basically double-checks its own work, looking for errors or weak points. Third, if needed, the system can perform automatic web research, pulling in external information to verify or correct its initial response. The goal is an uncertainty-aware LLM that can say, I'm only 40% confident in this answer. Here's why, and here's what I found online that might adjust it. This is critical as AI moves into high-stakes areas: military intelligence with Palantir, enterprise decision-making with OpenAI, robotics with Nvidia, or even just task automation on your phone. If AI is going to be an agent that acts on your behalf, it needs to understand and communicate uncertainty, not just sound confident all the time. So let's zoom out and tie all this together. On the consumer side, The Verge AI shows Gemini tentatively taking the wheel on your phone, while Amazon's rumored Transformer phone and Microsoft's Copilot Rethink point to a battle over how visible and intrusive AI should be in your everyday interfaces. On the labor side, Wire's look at DoorDash tasks highlights a new kind of gig work, training AI by living your life on camera, raising questions about pay, privacy, and the human costs behind smart systems. On the infrastructure and geopolitics side, the Cradle's report on Palantir in the US military and SCMP's piece on Nvidia and China's robotics supply chain show AI becoming a core part of national power, but also deeply entangled in global dependencies. On the business and ecosystem front, Engadget's OpenAI hiring story, Unwire, HK's App Store revenue analysis, and CNBC's piece on OpenClaw all point to a maturing market. Models are improving, but the real battles are shifting to distribution, integration, and differentiated value. And finally, MarkTech Post reminds us that as AI systems spread into all these domains, we need them not just to be capable, but calibrated, able to estimate their own uncertainty, self-evaluate, and look things up instead of hallucinating confidently. If you want to dive deeper, you can check out all the original reporting, The Verge AI for the Gemini, Automation Hands-On, Wired for the DoorDash task investigation, The Cradle and CNBC via Hacker News for the Palantir and OpenClaw stories, Engadget for the OpenAI hiring plans, South China Morning Post for Nvidia's physical AI and China Insights, Unwire.hk for the Amazon phone, Windows 11 changes, and App Store AI revenue, and MarkTech Post for the technical tutorial on uncertainty-aware LLM systems. That's it for today's AI News Roundup for March 22nd, 2026. If you found this helpful, make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the bell so you don't miss the next breakdown, and let me know in the comments which of these trends excites you the most and which one worries you the most. Thanks for watching Nomico channel, and I'll see you in the next one.